Here's more wrestling news for August 25th, 2022, and we're starting off this afternoon with WWE, and a lot has changed over the past month. Ever since Vince McMahon retired, Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan became co-CEOs, and Triple H became head of creative and talent relations. PW Insider reports that after a month, those working within the company are ecstatic at the changes made thus far, and everyone feels better with McMahon gone. The report said how people had felt like they'd been walking on eggshells under the previous regime, with a source in WWE's production team calling the change of atmosphere post-Vince McMahon night and day. A different source from WWE went one step further, saying that it is allowed to feel like it's fun to work here, something the crew hadn't felt for a very long time. It's noted that Mondays and Fridays are no longer seen as the worst days of the week, and that employees are leaving backstage meetings without a sense of PTSD, which was apparently common before. This positive atmosphere has reportedly led to better ideas being pitched, and has in turn made people even more positive, and it certainly appears that those in the company have already moved on from McMahon. In the run-up to this week's Dynamite, a lot had been said about CM Punk and his apparent issues with Hangman Adam Page. Last week, Punk reportedly went off script, calling Page out for a title match, well aware that he wasn't scheduled to appear, and called him a coward when he didn't show up. It wasn't long after that it was reported that Punk has issues with Page, stemming from their feud earlier this year, and on Busted Open Radio, Tony Khan admitted that there is heat between the two. It's unresolved anger, I think, from the world title match at Double or Nothing, and we had not really tied up all of those issues. CM Punk made one appearance to wrestle after Double or Nothing, and then it was immediately after that he got injured and was forced to step away, so there was clearly some stuff that never got resolved at Double or Nothing. Prior to this week's Dynamite, there had been concern by some in AEW that Punk would not show up, but not only did he appear, but he lost the world title in minutes to Jon Moxley. Punk was a huge signing for AEW, perhaps the biggest name Tony Khan has ever had under contract, but now the Chicago-made wrestler is proving to be a controversial name within the company. Video game news now, as fans are eager to get their hands on AEW Fight Forever, the first console game from the company. So far, details about the game have been slow, but this week, fans got a ton of new information about Fight Forever. Appearing at Gamescom in Cologne, Germany, Evil Uno and Colt Cabana revealed a ton about the new game, which is rated 16+. It was said that the game will have a deep career mode, and that kickouts and escaping submissions will be done through button mashing instead of mini-games. For the more violent gamers, there will be 40 different weapons under the ring, and it was said that online play will be a big part of Fight Forever. Unlike WWE games, Fight Forever will include mixed gender matches where male and female wrestlers can face off, and there will be a focus on customization of entrances, ring attires, and arenas. Max Caster will have an extra special role in the game, as the acclaimed star will be providing original music used in the game. When asked about a release date, both Cabana and Uno were coy, saying, "In the future sometime," but AEW Fight Forever will have a lot in store for fans when it eventually hits the market. Next week, AEW will host their All Out event, but the show won't just feature the best talent in Tony Khan's company. On this week's Dynamite, it was confirmed that FTR and Wardlow will be facing members of Sanjay Dutt's stable, which apparently includes two names from Impact Wrestling. All Out will see Wardlow and FTR take on Jay Lethal and classic Impact tag team, the Motor City Machine Guns. The announcement came just after Lethal had picked up the win over Dax Harwood, and we'll have to see if he, Alex Shelley, and Chris Sabin can keep the group's winning ways going next weekend at All Out. Since Triple H took over as head of WWE's talent relations, the game has been busy bringing back released talent who he believes never got the opportunity they deserved working under his father-in-law. Johnny Gargano, Dexter Lumis, Hit Row, Karrion Kross, and Dakota Kai have already made their WWE returns, and now another ex-NXT star could be on his way back. On the most recent episode of the We're Live Pal podcast, Andrew Zarian said that many in WWE are considering trying to bring back Bronson Reed, who was cut in August 2021. It's said that Reed's performance at the G1 Climax has certainly impressed people behind the scenes, which in itself is news that WWE are willing to watch other shows to scout talent. Reed's release last year was unexpected, as he'd only recently been North American champion and had been working dark matches on the main roster in hopes that he would be called up before leaving. At this time, there's no confirmation as to whether WWE has approached Reed or what his current contract situation is elsewhere, but don't be surprised to see the powerhouse back on WWE programming soon. More from AEW now, and for the past couple of months, Jungle Boy has been feuding with Christian Cage in a deeply personal feud. After betraying Jungle Boy at the Road Rager Dynamite, Cage hasn't just taken shots at Jungle Boy himself, but has insulted his mother and late father, actor Luke Perry. Speaking on his podcast this week, Jim Cornette addressed the feud and why he's not buying what Jungle Boy has to say. Does Jungle Boy have it? Is it going to come out? If it was, would it have come out by now? Verbally speaking on television, having any kind of passion or emotion, are all people of his age bracket this boring? Cage has stooped to an all-time low with his comments about Jungle Boy's family, but so far, there's not been that spark in the former AEW World Tag Team Champion. On last week's Dynamite, Jungle Boy challenged Cage to a match at next week's All Out, but we'll have to see if the former can find his voice in this deeply personal feud. Now, Eddie Kingston is no stranger to running his mouth on AEW programming and has held his own against great talkers, including CM Punk and Chris Jericho. As of late, Kingston has been feuding with Sammy Guevara, who cost Kingston his barbed wire everywhere match with Jericho back on the July 20th edition of Dynamite. However, fans may have noticed that they've seen less of the Mad King in recent weeks, and there's a reason for that. Dave Meltzer is reporting that Kingston was secretly suspended from AEW a few weeks ago after getting into a verbal dispute with Guevara, but that his suspension is already over. It's unclear what exactly was said that earned Kingston a suspension from AEW, and if it was something he said on screen or behind the scenes. Whatever the case, Kingston's suspension is a thing of the past, and it'll be interesting to see if the Mad King takes a moment to think about what he says the next time we see him on TV. And we're ending today with Jon Moxley, the new undisputed AEW World Champion, who will appear on this Friday's Rampage tapings. This is your official spoiler warning for this week's Rampage, so if you want to go into the show completely fresh, we recommend skipping this part of the video. On Rampage, Moxley addressed his world title win as expected, but also took some major shots at WWE. The AEW Undisputed World Champion implored fans to ask their friends to check out AEW programming on Wednesday nights if they were already watching that Monday and Friday night crap. A not-so-subtle reference to Raw and SmackDown. Not content taking aim at WWE's programming, Moxley also addressed Claudio Castagnoli, who never reached the proverbial brass ring in WWE as Cesaro, and commended the ROH World Champion for ignoring some old crazy man, a dig at ex-WWE CEO Vince McMahon. AEW stars taking shots at WWE is nothing new, and while his comments after the Rampage taping won't make it to air, the crowd in Cleveland certainly got a kick out of what he had to say. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.